What's up, everybody? The round of 8 continues on this week with Soma versus Rush. We already had an amazing week 1, and I think week 2 is going to be just as great. This is a tough one to call. I think when you look at both of these players, obviously both very hungry to win, but guys that could really be in their current form, absolutely on the cutting edge of the race.
Yeah. In fact, this is like basically the best new Zerg against the best new Terran. And I mean, new is a very relative term in Brood War because it literally takes like 10 years of practice to have any chance to do anything.
A guy who's been around for 12 years is the rookie in this game.
I know. Whereas in other esports, it's like it's been out for a year and people are like, this guy's a legend. It's like, no. You have to play for 10 years to get into a league in StarCraft 1. Anyways, these two are amazing. Here's just kind of our bracket showing what we have already seen. That Queen mini match, I think, is going to be one of the highlights of the tournament. But for me, Tasteless, it's all about these TVZs on this side of the bracket.
It's going to be a fun one, man. Soma looks very, very scary. I think, with a hyper-modern style. But, same with Rush. I feel like this is really going to look like what the very, very, very top of competitive ladder matches look like. We do have players that have been around for so long, they can bring older styles and still be effective. Some of these guys get to the Final Four with that. Some of them only make it into the early parts of an ASL. But this is going to be a TVZ for the not just the history books, but I think to study how the matchup goes in the modern era.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what these guys are going to be pulling out here today. It's really, these guys are the future.
예선을 통과를 하고 본선 무대에 올라왔었고
이번 4강전 대결을 시작하겠습니다. 도전 끝에 아마추어로 챔프를 거치고 올라온 박상현 선수의 대결. 최재 박상현. 최재 생애 최초 8강 진출. 최재 유영진 승을 따내면서 2위로 8강 진출. 유영진 선수.
저그를 좀 뽑아주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
박상현 선수.
저런데는 진짜 실력 싸움이잖아요.
끝까지 민방위까지 지급합니다.
그냥 임전부터 정신 빠르게 해야겠다라는 생각만 하다 보니까 너무 멉니다.
지치지 않는 청춘과 열정, 젊음을 대표하는 에너지 드링크 한 색소와 퍼포먼스로 앞서가다 LG 울트라 기어가 함께합니다. ASL 시즌12 8강 세 번째 경기로 인사드립니다. 안녕하세요, 이현경입니다. 지난 화요일에 펼쳐졌던 8강 두 번째 경기 치열한 심리전 끝에 변현재 선수가 김지성 선수를 압도하면서 김명훈 선수와의 4강 리매치가 성사됐죠. 오늘과 모레는 이 반대편 라인의 4강 대진이 완성될 예정입니다. 두 명의 저그와 두 명의 테란 중 과연 어떤 선수가 4강의 남은 자리를 차지할 수 있을지 기대해보면서 오늘 경기 앞두고 있는 두 명의 선수 함께 만나보겠습니다. 박상현 선수와 유영진 선수입니다. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
반갑습니다.
안녕하세요.
네, 박상현 선수 조지명식 때부터 유영진 선수와의 대결을 좀 바라는 것 같았어요. 8강에서 만나게 됐네요. 지금 소감이 어떠신가요?
너무 재밌는 게임이 될 것 같고 영진이 형 너무 잘하는 테란이라 쉽게 이기진 못할 것 같아요.
조지명식 때는 유영진 선수가 시드자들 중 가장 좀 약해 보인다라는 도발을 좀 했는데 지금의 생각은 조금 달라지셨나 봐요.
그거는 그냥 도발이었고
네.
지금 테란 중에 엄청 잘하는 것 같아요.
유영진 선수 역시 이 박상현 선수의 좀 도발 때문인지 16강이 끝나고 나서 8강에서 박상현 선수를 만나고 싶다라고 저에게 말씀을 하셨어요.
네.
자, 그 대진을 제가 좀 만들어 드렸는데 지금 경기를 좀 앞두고 있는 지금은 좀 어떠신가요?
일단 뽑아드려. 일단 뽑아주셔서 감사하고
네.
좀 게임 하다 보니까 자신감이 점점 올라오더라고요. 그때 이제 딱 대진이 성사된 이후에 저그전을 좀 많이 했는데 폼이 좀 많이 올라온 것 같아서 좀 제 자신한테 좀 기대가 되는 그런 상황입니다.
네, 이번 시즌 이 조지명식 때부터 두 선수의 스토리가 만들어지면서 많은 분들이 오늘의 매치에 더욱더 좀 기대를 하고 있습니다. 현재 유영진 선수가 생각하는 박상현 선수의 실력은 좀 어떤가요?
저그 중에 일단 테란전을 뭐 한 탑3 안에 든다고 생각하고 정말 잘한다고 생각하기 때문에 좀 어떻게 이겨야 될지 정말 고민을 많이 했고 연습도 정말 많이 해가지고 오늘 뭐 좋은 경기 할 수 있을 것 같습니다.
박상현 선수는 또 준우승까지 차지해본 경험이 있는 선수이기 때문에 이 8강을 넘어 4강까지 좀 올라가고 싶은 마음이 드실 것 같은데 오늘 유영진 선수와의 경기를 준비하면서 좀 어떠셨나요?
일단 테란전 진짜 열심히 준비했는데 제 투회 처리 빌드에 딱히 맞춤이 없는 것 같아요, 테란이. 그래서 무슨 빌드를 준비했을지 기대되고 영진이 형이 제 투회 처리를 한번 깨줬으면 좋겠어요.
본인이 준비한 어떤 필살의 전략을 또 유영진 선수가 어떻게 대응을 할지도 기대하고 있는 그런 자신감을 좀 내비쳐 주셨는데 이런 엄청난 자신감이라면 오늘 좀 예상되는 세트 스코어가 있을 것 같거든요.
영진이 형이 긴장하면은 3대 0으로 집니다.
긴장하면 3대 0으로 이길 것 같다. 상대가 긴장한다면 유영진 선수 긴장하셨나요?
저는 긴장 안 해요. 저는 제가 첫 세트 이기면 저도 3대 0 생각하고 있습니다.
자, 1세트가 승부처라는 생각을 하고 계시는군요.
네.
기대하겠습니다. 양 선수가 모두 자신감이 굉장히 넘쳐 보입니다. 과연 오늘 어떤 경기가 펼쳐질지 기대되는데요. 끝으로 두 선수의 각오를 들어보겠습니다. 박상현 선수.
진짜 수준 높은 접회전 보여드리도록 하겠습니다.
네, 유영진 선수도 한 말씀 해주시죠.
지금 8강만 세 번째인데 오늘 꼭 처음으로 4강 한번 가보도록 하겠습니다.
네, 두 선수의 멋진 8강 경기 기대하겠습니다. 인터뷰 고맙습니다. 감사합니다. 자, 이렇게 8강 세 번째 경기를 앞두고 있는 두 선수와 함께 이야기 나눠봤습니다. 과연 어떤 선수가 4강에 남은 자리를 차지하게 될지 박상현 선수와 유영진 선수의 경기 지금부터 함께 만나보시죠.
All right, let's get this match going. Soma versus Rush. Our hyper-modern Terran and our hyper-modern Zerg are going to be duking it out. Let me just plunge into this, Tastosis. How has the matchup changed over the last, let's say, 18 months?
All right. So, yeah, I get a lot of questions, actually, about the current Terran versus Zerg metagame and where it's at. For instance, you don't see much mech. There's a few maps where occasionally you're going to see mech, but in general, it's not that popular anymore. A lot of people were very excited by and really enjoyed a lot of these 5 racks +1 into mech switches. Those don't exist anymore. That is not something that you are going to see. It's very much about SK Terran at the moment, or a 1-1-1 opener into probably SK Terran. And as far as Zerg goes, it's very much about carapace upgrades. A lot of what Zerg is doing nowadays is just focusing on getting into ultras in the late game with lots of carapace upgrades. And I'm talking +2 and then +3. And that's... So the game has changed a lot in that way. It's more Ultralisk based, it's more Marine Medic based, and actually BCs are very, very popular right now. Battle cruisers are super, super strong because of the way that Zerg has changed up the way that they're playing. And we do have some hints of some changes coming. More and more people are trying out things like Hydra Lurker Defiler. So that could be something we see, even though I don't think that's very much Soma's style. So that's kind of the 50,000-foot view of the current metagame of this matchup.
Yeah, Hydra Lurker, it seems like people are really trying to push that out there, but it does seem to be extremely hard to do. You know what I mean? There's something... as difficult as Ling Lurker is to move, there is some simplicity to it, where it seems like Hydra Lurker, if controlled correctly, can be extremely powerful and extremely hard to interact with from the Terran side, but it's not easy for sure.
Well... This is where you hear the hang-up button, like the old-school phone hang-up. I'm like, no, Tastosis, I'm done now. Hydra Lurker is an ape move. Okay, there is no way I'll agree to what you just said. But I don't think Soma will play that style regardless. But I mean, it could come out. Speaking of which, look at this. Like, his versus Terran looks really bad, but almost all of his games are against Flash and Light. So I want to throw that in there. Soma's Zerg versus Terran is magnificently strong.
Yeah, Soma's been very good at knowing when to lean in and when to generate the imagery that he's leaning in when he's not, if that makes sense. Like, there are plenty of games where Soma will have Lings and Mutas moving towards you and moving out on the map, and he's actually droning heavily behind it. And so, one of the things about the way it looks from the other end, whether you're a Terran or even a Protoss, is that the appearance of aggression is almost always there. So the question is really more, is this a facade or is he for real?
Yeah, like, when is he going to dive?
Like,
because he is a very aggressive Zerg.
Yeah, a lot of Zergs, they'll play mostly passive and then occasionally spring into a rush. It's kind of the opposite. It's kind of the inverse for Soma here, which is one of the fun things about watching him, is like, he's always in your face. The thing is he just doing it enough to drone up? Well, I guess we're going to find out, guys. We're ready now for Game 1. The winner of this best of 5 goes on to the 3rd spot in the Final 4 of Season 12 of the ASL.
All right, so we have Soma in the bottom left of Largo, and in the top right we have Rush. So cross spawns. I think that's going to make it a little bit better for Rush, I would say, just because the Mutas get there a little bit later, and it's going to be a little bit trickier taking that 3rd base at another main base for Soma if that's what he wanted to do.
You know, the thing about this map, I think in most matchups it's fair to say, is that the 3rd base isn't really that much to fight for. This mineral base out here. Obviously, you don't have to take that. Certainly as Zerg, you're not going to take that. But from the Terran's perspective, it's kind of a funny thing, because is it 6 mineral patches? Is that all there is? Let's actually see if we can count. I believe it's 6 total that are up there, but it's less than the natural. It's about as small as expansions can be. And so it does make for kind of a funny position where it seems like, the 2-basing game is fine, but a 3rd base doesn't help you easily propel your way to a 4th.
Yeah, especially that one, because it's like, how do you even defend that against even light Zergling harassment, right? Like, it's so wide open, there's no real choke or anything. So yeah, it's not that useful of a base. That being said, we actually have a forward 8 racks here from Rush. So the interesting thing that we're going to be looking for is he going to be taking a gas, or is it going to be straight into an expansion? It looks to me like it's going to be a gas one, and I feel like that would probably be the best play. And he is playing against a cross spawn, so it's not going to be quite as strong as if it was close spawn, but he is going up against Hatchery first.
And this is one of the openings where it's very delicate on both sides. We talk about TVZ being kind of a glass cannon-ish matchup on as far as their unit compositions go. It's very true in the end game when you have lots of Marines versus lots of Lurkers, but it's true in the early game when you have drones versus Marines as well.
Yeah, if you start to get the edge, you can really get far ahead. With a single 8 racks in these type of spawns, odds are you're not going to get that much damage done. Oh, he catches the scout drone. So a little bit of a mistake there from Soma. You can see Soma pull his lips into his mouth there and lean forward for a moment. Definitely a frustrated face, because like, if he was a little bit quicker there, you lose 1 less drone.
I like the way you described that.
Yeah,
pulling his lips
it was a weird
into
face,
his mouth. It was very medical. Okay, so the drones, what he wants to do is try to get a surround here with the drones. And it looks like he might get this first Marine killed almost immediately. Another drone's dropped, though, in the process. The 3rd actually escapes. And again, Soma, you got to be careful going up in any kind of micro fight here. But Rush does get an additional kill. He should be able to moving shot that last one down. And so the rush ends from this the Terran's perspective. But, there was a decent number of drone kills in there.
Yeah, he got 3. And so that kind of shows if like the difference between getting 3 there and then if he had turned his scout drone around a little bit quicker, that would be just 2. And that's like, it's such a big difference for how much damage was actually dealt. So I think micro-wise, Soma outdid Rush there for sure. But Rush's build is still completely fine. You know, he ended up getting 3 drones. He has a starport already on the way. Pretty decent stuff. Whereas Soma, he has that Hydralisk Den because I think he has a good idea of what's going on. In fact, he is going to get a scout off, and he's going to even see the starport. So that is a huge amount of information for him.
And basically, Soma is ready to punch back pretty heavily here. I mean, he wants to absolutely make sure that... Oh, now I think that hatching... Yeah, he sees at the last second the Hydra's popping out. He may have suspected this anyways, but it's good confirmation.
Yeah, to know that there is already a Hydralisk scout is very good. It's like very important for him to be able to know that, where it's like, oh, okay, so this is... It's not like he's going to start the Hydralisk Den now. So starts his own bunker, add-on on the way, and he's getting... okay, there it is. It's a Wraith. Because I was going to say, like, what is he going to do with this starport now? Like, you would probably still get the Wraith because you need the scouting. But let's see what these Vultures can do now.
How do Hydras and Vultures interact? Does the Vulture have one more range, or is that incorrect?
Yeah, it does have one more range.
Okay.
Yeah, so, like, you can kind of micro against them, like you see here. Like, you can kind of, if you micro super heavily, have low number of Vultures beat low numbers of Hydras a little bit. Like, 2 Vultures versus 1 Hydra, you can definitely slane it, but it's so micro-intensive. They don't do that much damage to them, so it's not like that. You know, it's not like fighting against a melee unit or something.
Well, the Hydras are going to go circumvent the position the Vultures had. There's a bunker, but... And look, Hydras are actually shockingly bad against bunkers, but if there's nothing to repair here, we got to watch carefully.
Well, they do have, you know, the thing is SCVs just do not die to Hydras, so if you just bring some down to repair, it's not like they can really pick them off. Yeah, a lot of Hydras coming across, so it seems like he wants to go for a bust, but here come the SCVs. Meanwhile, we have a Wraith in the main base. All right, 5 SCVs here. I think he'll have to pull the SCV off of the CC as well. You can see he targets an SCV immediately. A little bit slow to that repair, though, and now Soma going to get some massive damage in.
And, you know, once that bunker dies, the Hydras, again, they are some of the best units as far as how well they can be controlled here. This is going to be tough because the Hydras basically beat everything. They beat Marines very quickly. They beat Wraiths, obviously, even Vultures as well. And so I think the small number of Hydras can keep pushing up here. The SCVs are going to be pulled, and yeah, SCVs don't take damage that quickly versus Hydras, but at the same time, the Hydras can be microed to no end.
Yeah, that was amazingly done by Soma, honestly. Like, you saw that with the micro as well, where he ran up, he targeted 1 SCV down, then targeted the bunker, and one of Rush's SCVs didn't repair. It glitched out, and then it went around, and he was slow to pull the SCV off of the CC. If he had gotten all that repairing quicker, he would have held. But here we are with Soma getting way ahead. Look at this. Runs up the ramp. Going to go after the tank because, of course, he has explosive damage, so he's going to kill those very, very fast. Kills off one. Going to go after the other. I'm not sure if he'll get this one, though.
I think he might not, actually. If he can micro this just right. Oh! And now he's killed off the SCV. It's still pretty bad for Rush. I mean, Rush is hanging on. We should point out that, I mean, Soma is doing this with barely anything. So this is an extremely scrappy, low econ game here. Keep in mind, the Overlord can act to spot against these mines. Very different from a mech position where we see Rush's. Oh my God, he's so sick, dude. Oh, that was so sick.
He mind dragged with the Hydralisk. Like, he saw it and he's like, oh, this is what to do. And he actually forced the tank to die there. So Rush trying to play fast and loose, but
damn,
honestly, this was all about execution from Soma. He nailed it. Like, he made the Hydralisk Den immediately when he saw what was happening. He microed magnificently against the 8 racks itself. He microed against the bunker and targeted an SCV down and killed it. And then he microed perfectly going up the ramp. It was just like, this was amazingly done from Soma.
And we saw Soma shaking a little bit there for a second as he was drinking his water. I mean, the adrenaline is going. And that's a moment where each individual attack on both sides was so impactful to how that game developed, and ultimately, Soma was able to pull through with a quick kill move, closing out game 1, and we're already ready for game 2.
Yeah. I love that first one. Definitely a very different game. You're not going to see a whole lot that look exactly like that, especially with Zerg winning in that position. But very, very well done. So I think we're going to probably be jumping to a quick commercial break here in a moment. But Soma taking that first map, so important in these best of 5s.
And it looks like that break is ready now, guys. Game 2 just around the corner. We will be right back.
안녕하세요. 이번에 8강 진출한 박상현이라고 합니다. 징크스가 아니라고 생각할 수도 있는데 연습을 안 하면 불안하더라고요. 사실 연습을 안 해도 실력이 확 줄진 않거든요. 좀 심리적인 그런 것 때문에 자신감도 없어져서 못 이기더라고요. 공부할 때부터 제가 공부를 오래 했는데 항상 수능 볼 때 자신감이 없었어요. 왜냐하면 열심히 안 했어가지고 그때부터 뭔가 생긴 강박 같은 건데 해결해 보려고 연습을 안 해봤는데 결과가 항상 좋지 못하더라고요. 그 다음에 이제 영화. 장르는 사실 따지지 않고 기생충같이 상류층으로 가고 싶어하는 약간 저 같은 그런 영화 보면은 뭔가 감정이입도 되고 재밌더라고요. 앞서 말씀드린 기생충하고 그 다음에 타이타닉 오징어 게임 뽑겠습니다. 일주일 동안 타이타닉을 보고 슬퍼가지고 휴유증이 있었거든요. 고등학생 때. 이게 진짜 사랑이구나 배웠는데 지금 찾았습니다. 이거 ASL 출근길을 안 할 수가 없네요. 제가 광주 사는데 ASL 출근하는 게 이게 보통 일이 정말 아니거든요. 빨리 일어나서 와야 돼가지고 항상 피곤하거든요. 오늘 같은 경우는 이제 새벽 5시에 서울 와서 호텔 가서 자고 지금 온 거예요. 해볼 수가 없었어요. 왜냐면 이제 계좌를 보면 그런 생각이 안 나더라고요. 명훈이 형이 서울 올라가기 한 달 전에 같이 이제 쭉 광주에서 지내자 이렇게 했는데
서울 생활이 좋은 거는 그래도 여자친구랑 가까이 지내가지고
어느새 올라갔더라고요. 부럽다기보다는 약간 서운해요. 광주의 무등산에서 백숙 먹던 그런 추억이 있거든요. 명훈이 형 요새 경기력 너무 안 좋은데 광주로 다시 오세요. 고라인.
저가 테란이고 짭제가 적은데
이제 지성이가 없었으면은 스타판에서 좀 외로웠을 것 같은데 같이 군대도 안 가주고 동갑이고 그래서 안도감도 들고요. 덕이는 연습 열심히 해서 같이 경쟁했으면 좋겠어요. 이광용이라는 친구가 있거든요. 제가 준우승 했을 때 다음 ASL에서 만나자고 했던 친구인데 잘 있나 모르겠네요. 오늘 뭔가 하면서 좀 자신감을 얻었거든요. 긴장이 되긴 하는데 손은 똑같이 잘 움직이더라고요. 연습만 많이 제가 해온다면은 진짜 재밌는 게임 보여드릴 수 있을 것 같습니다. 응원해주시는 분들이 있어가지고 동기부여가 많이 되거든요. 그래서 너무 고맙고 실망시키지 않는 모습 보여드리겠습니다.
안녕하세요. 8강에 마지막으로 진출을 하게 된 유영진입니다. 지금은 맛집대로 가고 있는 것 같아요. 오늘
취득권자 중에 가장 약해 보여요.
저도 영진이랑 하고 싶네요.
김민철한테도 맛집 취급을 당했었는데 정말 맛집처럼 져버렸고 제가 진짜로 4강을 가본 적이 없이 와카전에서 계속 올라가다 보니까 그런 것도 있는 것 같아서 이번에 꼭 시드 자리 따도록 하겠습니다. 김유정 라인 중에서 제가 그래도 8강에 3번 연속으로 올라가기도 했고 그래가지고 아직은 제가 1등 같은데
만날 일은 없을 것 같은데 둘 중 하나는 먼저 떨어지지 않을까 싶은데 만나려면은 박상현 선수가 아니라 김지성 선수가 걸렸어야 될 것 같은데 둘 다 잘해가지고 최대한 높이 올라갔으면 좋겠습니다. 뭔가 할 게 별로 없네. 일단 저는 그 두 시즌 와카를 할 때 둘 다 제가 좀 올라갈 수 있는 라인업인가라는 의문을 되게 많이 심었었어요. 뭔가 구멍이 하나도 없고 거기서 1등을 해야만 올라갈 수 있기 때문에 엄청 힘들다 생각을 했는데 그래도 떨어져도 다음 기회가 있다는 생각을 가지고 있어가지고 좀 편하게 하니까 잘 이겨서 올라갔던 것 같아요. 아니요, 오늘은 좀 너무 이기고 싶어서 오히려 그게 좀 역효과로 나온 것 같아요. 지금 마음을 좀 비워야 될 것 같아요, 저번처럼. 오늘은 너무 이기고 싶었어요, 김민철 선수를. 와일드카드는 당일에 출산을 할까봐 고민을 하다가 참가를 해서 올라간 다음에 출산을 했거든요. 제가 만약에 와일드카드를 못 올라갔으면은 산후조리를 하나도 못 해주고 좀 같이 못 있어주고 바로 예선을 해야 될 시기였어가지고 정말 올라가서 다행이었던 것 같아요. 아빠가 되고 아기가 나오고 이제 그런 다음에 첫 시즌은 감회가 새롭거든요. 꼭 우승을 하고 싶고 더 잘하고 싶고 근데 그게 너무 크면 또 경기력에 악영향을 미치는 것 같아서 좀 조절할 생각입니다. 옆에서 내조 잘해줘서 고맙고 열심히 애기 잘 키워보자. 사랑해.
오늘 좀 뽑아주실 때 저그를 좀 뽑아주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
박상현 선수.
그 저그전에 자신이 있다기보다는 저그전을 극복하지 못하면 아무것도 되지 않을 것 같아서 꼭 만나서 이기고 싶어서 저그를 뽑아달라는 건데
8강 C조 유영진 선수가 뽑혔습니다.
준비 잘해가지고 이번에는 다른 모습을 보여드릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
Welcome back, everyone. Soma takes the lead in an extremely explosive game for Game 1. Rush comes in with a pretty impressive 8 racks, but Soma does the immediate counter. And I should say it's not always an exact counter. It's an attempted counter. It really depends on how the two unit compositions interact, but barely manages to crack open and Rush. And I'll tell you, we've seen Soma like this before, just in a different matchup. He's done this in CVP so many times, cracking open Terran entrances. Really, that expansion opening post the 8 racks Rush from Rush really is very similar as far as how it operates defensively with a Protoss fast expand against Zerg.
Yeah. And, I mean, he had just enough to pick it off. And, I mean, it was just it was
I
so
think your
well
mic's cut
executed.
out on my end. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Tasteless. But yeah, I was saying this, it's like so well executed from Soma. I'm really, really impressed because like what Rush did was really solid overall. He barely didn't repair everything in time. The mines were a good idea, but Soma already was sending an Overlord in to deal with something like that. The mine drag. I'm super impressed with Soma here, but I think that game is definitely not indicative of what the series will look like.
We're going to go to our second map now and see what exactly we've got in store here between Soma and Rush. Soma with that 1-0 lead, but I doubt we're going to have a game that's going to look much like Game 1. Let's go to Revolver.
All right. We have in the top left, Soma. And in the bottom left, we have Rush. Now, this map is the most popular map for 8 racks that I have ever seen in Terran vs. Zerg Tasteless.
Yeah.
This is like, you will see 8 racks of the natural very, 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 very often on this map in Terran vs. Zerg, which I think will probably shift the meta a little bit. We might see like pool first builds coming out of Zergs. Because, you know how it's all wide open at that natural, and it would be like really hard to defend speedlings coming in from multiple sides. So a lot of people just go for an 8 racks, and then they build their depot down there, and then you have a wall on one side, and then you just have a tiny ramp to defend. So it's very easy to go 8 racks into expansion. Not like you don't really see 8 racks into factory here, there's no point. But like 8 racks into expansion, very, very popular. Now that being said, he's not going to 8 racks. After I said all that, he's just going to go ahead and make his depot in his main base and be like, yeah, chill, bro. We already did 8 racks. We're not doing 2 of those in a row. This guy, he's not Maru, that's for sure.
No, it does seem like it's a map that, the way it's architecturally set up, you can get there and basically be safe if they counterattack back at home. I want to point out something real quick here because I was wrong in one of our previous casts. Certainly the first time ever. But I thought that Protoss couldn't wall in on this, and they actually can. I just didn't appreciate how the eggs interacted differently on this map with how you can set up a block. So you can lock that area off. And that would mean that also Terran can have some very doable setups to wall off here at the natural as well. But the entrance here at the natural does offer a couple of different ideas for what is normally not something we really talk about. You know, other than what structures can fit in there, you know, the entry point of a natural. There's basically 2 entrances that you can try to come through here to get to the same area. One from low ground, one from the same level terrain.
Yeah, and in like spawns like this, that second entrance is a lot harder to use because you have to go so far around.
Right.
But yeah, going up the little ramp and everything, very difficult as well, so that shorter rush distance isn't going to be all that useful. Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of excited to see what these guys are going to go for. I kind of like the fact that Rush is looking like he's just going to go for a pretty standard Marine expansion here. Probably just going to see some SK Terran out of him. And then Soma, of course, he already has his hatchery down. Zergling's coming out right now.
And with these links coming out, let's see if he can actually catch the SCV. SCV turns around and is kind of moving within where the lings are coming. He might need another SCV or 2 here to kind of help block this off.
Yeah,
and
brings his SCVs to the ramp. Yeah, and you can see he actually brought the Overlord over to peek. This is definitely something Rush likes to, if he's getting quickly pulled, to just make the CC immediately up the ramp and float it down. Of course, this isn't a bad opening from Soma, though. Even though if they block this, they're losing some mining time on it. You have to pull 4 SCVs at once, and then you go down to 2 pretty quickly, and then eventually you get rid of both. But even just the command center being built up on high ground, right? That's like a lot of lost mining time, the float time, the SCV build time. So it does stunt Terran a bit.
Yeah, it's certainly going to slow him down. I'm really intrigued, though, by the second hatchery over here at the natural. What is your take on that? I feel like this is something normally StarCraft viewers see in a Zerg versus Protoss.
Yeah, but sometimes you do see it in Zerg versus Terran. I haven't seen on this map in particular. Obviously, it's like a newer map because it is a little bit more wide open because you could attack from the side. So, but yeah, it's just, it could be a couple different things. One thing would be like he's planning on having enough defense there that he gets a free 4th base in the top right. And the other one would be he's deciding to put on so much pressure with Mutalisks that attacking it just doesn't even matter. It's, you know, like it doesn't matter where it is. If you're going to go and out micro them all game with mutas, then you can really expand anywhere you want.
Makes sense. So this SCV is still roaming. You know, Terran has to be very careful to really not let that SCV get touched at all. You know, any damage it takes is basically permanent. Fortunately, it's got a lot of HP, but yeah, when you get cornered like that, you're gone. And so usually when we see games like this, I think positionally, if you didn't know who was playing and you just knew this was a top-tier ASL level Zerg, you might assume that the Zerg is going to be very, very defensive. But with Soma, I never want to conclude that too quickly.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the position that he can take advantage of whenever he wants, but there's no reason why this couldn't be an extremely aggressive game from him once more. You know, the eggs on the entrances here, they are destructible, and that's the easiest way to think about them for the uninitiated. I feel like sometimes we don't talk about this very much, and I frankly think the eggs look kind of ugly on maps, especially where there's like no Zerg, and it can be confusing. Like, are those Zerg eggs? Well, they are in the game, but not the players. But basically, they're supposed to tighten up the entrance, but they can be destroyed. But eggs as a feature are also a bit glitchy, so it's hard to take fights if you're trying to push past them, which basically offer an extra membrane of defense that will make anybody trying to attack into these sunken colonies with these eggs there a little bit wary of doing so.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like, and the thing is, Marines don't really kill the eggs. There wouldn't be a situation, realistically, where you're going to kill the eggs as Terran offensively. But looks like the Marine's kind of walking over to the side here. He's got to be careful. Like, mutas are going to be out relatively soon here, but he is forcing a good amount of sunks. And you can see the amount of sunkins that have been made already from Soma here. He's got like 3 in his natural and 4 being made over here. So that's the downside to having, you know, a third base that looks like this. Is you have to have so much there defensively. Now, I mean, the setup for Soma looks like it might turn into Crazy Zerg, right?
Sure.
It definitely looks that way. The fact that he already has 4 Sunkens on each side, like, are you really feeling like you want to go into Lurker from here? I don't think so as much. So I think that's what we're gonna see, but I mean, we have to wait. It's up to Soma, obviously.
We saw a little cool technique with the Evo chamber put in front and then canceled. That's just enough to mess up the AI that you're never that sure if it's a good idea to try to attack in that position.
Yeah, realistically, you can't. Like, you have to actually kill it before you go into the Sunks because everything gets screwed up. Otherwise, you have to walk way forward. They get like 4 free shots. It's worth so much. The Queen's Nest being made there, yeah, there's the Evolution Chamber. So it is going to be Crazy Zerg. And the setup he has, like, he's doing this so safely. I've actually, like, even on the ladder against bad players, they generally don't get this many Sunks this early. But Soma, like, if you look at the place that he expanded to, where he gets the free 4th gas, his Crazy Zerg this game is going to be so strong, Tasteless. I'm afraid to see it because it's going to make me uninstall the game. He's going to get so many ultras. It's going to be really frightening.
Yeah, this is going to be tough, man. I mean, the mutas are a threat, and that part of the game is going to look like pretty much any other TVZ. But again, it's what's behind this, and the fact that I think that Terran doesn't have any real easy retaliation for the time being. You know, when Zerg do this to Protoss, they end up in a similar position that is very hard to deal with, which is that you can't really interact with the Zerg as far as his bases go. Same thing here for Terran.
Yeah, very much so. And the thing is, he'll get up into the ultras that he wants, and unless we get a Sunken bust. Because, and here's the thing, too, it's not like you can just go siege tanks and bust through. That's not something that's going to be doable here. You know, there's like too many mutas out. They'll slow that down. He does need to get into his science vessels. He also needs to be spending his gas on upgrades. That's going to be the biggest key important thing. But the fact that there's already 4 gases available, or there will be momentarily here as that top right hatchery finishes, that means that we can see everything out of someone. Look, he's even getting Greater Spire.
Wow.
So now, and look at how many Sunkens he's making. I mean, this is, I love that we're seeing it because it is so strong. You know, like, this is something that's really scary. This is kind of more modern, like I was talking about at the beginning, where it's like Crazy Zerg. It's been the talk of Terrans for a while now because it's pretty tough to stop. And you can see that, like, he is getting so many Sunkens that the Marine medics can't really bust him. He's going to put pressure on him by making some Guardians, which you're going to need either to make some Wraiths or to use your Irradiates. Oh my god, he's going double dropship? That's crazy.
I think this is the play, but I'll tell you what, this is a bit of a Hail Mary, man. Like, he really needs to execute this and pull this off. I would imagine you drop either the main or maybe the other main in the top right. Those are the only 2 targets you can try to take. But if you notice the Scourge count here, Soma seems to be already preempting this. He's got sets of 4 Scourge, which are clearly intended to catch 2 dropships.
Yes, 100%. And he's got them at both bases. He's even making a Sunken in his main base. He has Guardians guarding his main base. Like, he has Guardians guarding his other base, too. This is, like, man.
It's like he's got Guardians guarding his Guardians, Artosis. How else would we say?
I know.
Okay, so he's going to try to come in here now. And that is going to keep one dropship alive. And that one dropship is enough to keep porting more of these extremely important units over here. Now, Guardians are not great against Marines, but they're not bad. But if the Marines are small enough in number like this, and I certainly think that Rush might have been caught off guard by seeing this here, by the way. This almost seems like a trap on some level because, you know, from the Zerg's perspective, once you have the 4th gas up and you're able to make Ultralisks, I think the rest of the game's easy, but you don't want to have that that one killing blow with the dropships coming in there. And so he makes Guardians to both keep his basically 2 sections of the map safe, but also, even if you drop in there, the Guardians are hard to deal with, you know?
Yeah, like, I mean, even just utilizing them defensively instead of offensively, I think is a really smart move here from Soma. Because all he needs to do is not die, and he's doing that exactly. Like, where does Rush go from here? He's barely up in supply. He's playing against 4 base. The Ultras are scaling up super, super fast. He doesn't have that much. You can't bust the Sunkens and kill all the units that Soma has.
He's going to try to do it here at the 3rd. Now, maybe he can brute force it. I'm not sure. It's always hard whenever you see like this many infantry trying to push through this. There are, I think maybe with some good D-matrixes, it's possible. He's going to irradiate literally every Guardian.
Yeah, and he kind of needs to do that, but that means no defense matrix energy, right? Because I like your idea of the defense matrix. That can be really strong. Let's see if he can actually break through here. Now, the Ultras need to come out and fight, but the Sunkens are in the way right now, so that is a little bit of a problem.
Well, these aren't fully upgraded Ultras either.
Yeah, he does not have that +2 carapace yet, which is like the most important upgrade is specifically that +2. You should be seeing 4 carapace Ultras to be able to hold this well. He's losing a ton of these Ultras. Can Rush actually break through here? The Guardians are flying over, albeit very slowly from the other side. Ultras still coming through. The Ultra's speed not done. That +2 carapace still not done here as well. Here come the flanking Guardians, though.
Yeah, and some irradiates are going to go down here, and I think Terran, well, I guess he can actually just hold his ground and fight, right? I mean, there's not that many Guardians, and what seemed to be a essentially impregnable position is now getting cracked wide open. The Guardians are low in count. The Nidus has been destroyed. That's going to disjoint these 2 bases, so really what you see is what you get. Instead, the Ultras are going to have to travel all the way across the map, and maybe in the last few seconds of this, he's got enough Ultras mustered that he can actually fight back, but it's a fragmented position for the Zerg at best, one where I think if Terran can regroup and pull out again, could certainly hit this area over and over.
Look, that attack was amazing from Rush. I'm really impressed. He broke through, and Soma not having that additional carapace upgrade made such a difference in that battle. He really did need to have that. But he's still got a lot of drones. He lost every Guardian he had, which was a huge gas investment. He lost all of his Ultras, and only with 2 hatching rounds was able to barely hold it. So we'll see if he can hold on. If he can hold on and stabilize, he's still got a shot in the game, but it's looking very rough now that Rush just killed that many units.
And now more Lings and Ultras are going to come down here. Now, this is more than just what Terran has here. This screenshot doesn't do it justice. There's a big wave coming up here from the south that's going to merge up with this. And keep in mind that one of the 4 bases that Zerg had was one of the 4 gases Zerg was mining from. And the 4 gases are what really give you the power to make more Ultras. So you're seeing less and less Ultralisks on the map. And it looks like this base should be wiped and possibly these Ultras wiped out here as well.
Well, he is buffing them with Irradiate, so that's helping out quite a bit.
Yeah.
The Ultras, you can see how he spreads the Irradiated Ultras onto the Marine Medic. But Rush's macro has been insane this game. His minerals have stayed incredibly low. He is non-stop reinforcing across the map. It's actually so impressive to see this. This is some of the best TVZ macro that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, man. And by the way, even more pressure on the Terran to try to close this out here, because this base that we see has been reclaimed. It's where our screen's been for most of the series, but there are 2 more bases in the top center, both of which have gases available, although not taken yet, that could be seized as well here. Now,
look how many Sunkens he's making, Tastosis. This is so funny, because this is actually how Crazy Zerg is supposed to be played in the modern era, is you're just making hatcheries everywhere eventually.
Right.
But Rush has that big advantage. A lot of Sunkens being made. Can Soma slow him down and hold on?
Well, he's going to clean up this base at the near 12 o'clock, but there's another 12 o'clock base, the 11 o'clock one, I guess you could say, that if he can get rid of that one, I think we're back to square one, with the exception that Rush has another base. Now, remember the big fight we saw last time? There were at least Guardians here to help defend. Now it's just the sunken colonies and an insane number of Marines, enough vessels over here that I think this may be the force that finally bulldozes down this base once and for all.
Yeah, you could be right. There's actually so many Sunkens, his Ultras can't even come out to fight, which is such a funny problem to have. But with those D-Matrices on the Marines as well, he is gunning down these Ultras. There's some Ultras that were left behind that didn't end up coming up here. Like, Soma is trying everything he can to hold on, but he just barely doesn't have enough.
Yeah, and now I think Terran can basically smother this base and the one to the northern position of this. We see the Eraser being used here on these vessels, cleaning up. And I think Rush has barely managed to win this game, and honestly, one of the most insane macro TVCs I've ever seen. Like, he's just, I don't think the lights on those barracks have ever been off. And by the way, the third base has been denied for Terran, and I think the Natural's about to mine up. So this was a nail-biter till the very end, but it looks like Rush will come out on top.
Yeah, he is killing absolutely everything here. This top right should get destroyed. And, I mean, you see the Ultras just popping out to die at this point. Canceling all of his eggs, down to just 2 bases. Now, during this, he did force a liftoff of the third base of Rush, right? So at least he was trying to get something else done, but you can see his supply is just dropping so low. And that, in this situation, it really matters, right? It's not like he has 2 defilers that can make everything invincible. He's sitting behind a bunch of sunks, and it's so hard for him to actually secure another base. You see he's still just throwing down hatcheries, but how likely is it that Rush is going to allow those to survive?
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, there are dilemmas on both sides. You know, the fact that there's only one base that really is fruitful here for Rush, and you can see it's going to be denied once more. I think these Ultras just barely all have enough health. Yeah. That does put Rush in a tough spot here, but at the same time, it's this army that really can't be contested from Rush that he's already mustered, right? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, maybe Terran tries to gear up and hit that location again. He is going to chase these Ultras away once more and reclaim that third base, but I really do feel like this is much more difficult for the Zerg now.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think Rush is very close to closing this game out, because he's hurting this economy so much. Like, even just keeping those drones burrowed is painful for Soma. He's got very little going on. He's going to lose this hatchery as well. He did expand over to 3 o'clock, and it seems like, I guess Rush doesn't know about that right now, so he is going to start getting some gas from there, because that's really what he's in need of at the moment. And it looks like he's going to continue to try to counterattack.
Yeah, he's going to do this counter. I don't know if it's going to be enough. We don't know exactly what's down. Okay, there's definitely enough down here. Even without the bunkers, I think he still holds. But he's basically put out every fire that Soma has tried to start here. And, you know, these Ultralisks, every time you see them killed off, it is a big deal. That is the big tech investment that he has. And each new little base that's trying to sprout up and give Soma some opportunities to get more resources is getting shut down once more. And I think we're basically going to see Soma locked out of mining any further resources and ultimately GG.
Yeah, he's definitely dead now. We're getting up to about 20 minutes, so the geysers are actually going to be running dry very shortly here for Zerg. And that's where, like, you know, you'll notice that a lot of TVZs end by 25 minutes just because geysers deplete, right? And then you can't really afford anything else.
Right.
You're running around in circlings at that point with almost nothing else. So I think that Rush has done it. He's whittled him down. He's kept his supply super high. Amazing macro throughout. Great attacking sense from Rush. And wow, it's a really impressive game from him here.
It's kind of insane that Rush was able to break him, by the way, when you consider how good Soma's defense was. He had something like 6 to 8 Guardians on either side. But Rush comes back, he takes it. It looked like it was going to be almost impossible, but he forced that victory and then stopped Soma at every step of the way to ensure that he couldn't get into a macro game. And you could see Soma extremely frustrated with that game, but I gotta say, man, Rush was just godlike with his macro.
Yeah. And the thing is, that was his only timing to do anything, too. If Soma does not die there, like at that bust at his third base, he wins that game really easily. Like, the amount of gas he had, the amount of Ultras he was going to field at that point, especially after stopping those drops, right? Like,
Right.
The dropships really didn't do very much. So Rush needed that to work. He executed it beautifully. Kudos to Rush, man. What beautiful play there.
Yeah, a really fun game, and a very modern one, like we said. The crazy Zerg being used, but Rush powering through. Even the double dropships being shut down, but he still forced it. It was pretty insane, man.
Yeah, very, very well done. And I honestly have no idea who's going to end up taking this series. Tied up 1-1 right now. They both are looking amazing. Both sides playing very, very well.
And so I'm happy to say we have an even match so far. And I think our next map is going to be Polypoid, guys. We've got a quick break, but when we come back, Game 3 in the round of 8 Match 3 will continue on.
힘들어도
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 보여.
새로운 나를 만든다.
나의 레벨은 다르다. 어너더 레벨 핫6.
아이시스 8.0을 연다는 건 조금 이른 아침을 연다는 것. 나를 움직이는 핑크 에너지. 아이시스 8.0.
양념 툭툭. 올리브유 또르르. 우와. 그리고 제로. 너무 좋다. 맛은 배로, 칼로리는 제로. 칠성사이다 제로. 함께 모이면 홈파티. 홈파티엔 먹방. 먹방엔 칠성사이다. 맛있어. 맛있는 자리에 빠질 수 없는 청량함. 칠성사이다.
디자인을 하면서 가장 중요하게 생각했던 부분은 울트라 기어의 차별화된 브랜드 메시지를 잘 나타내는 것입니다. 신과 영웅들의 최강의 무기들을 검토하였습니다. 그중 니케의 승리의 날개를 모티브로 지금의 울트라 기어의 로고가 탄생하게 되었습니다. 울트라 기어의 이니셜인 U와 G를 비상하는 날개의 형상으로 레드 색상을 사용하여 강력한 에너지와 힘을 나타내었습니다. 울트라 기어는 최상의 퍼포먼스로 진정한 게임의 즐거움, 승리의 기쁨을 여러분께 선사할 것입니다.
퇴근하고 뭐해? 퇴근하고? 오늘은 유셰프, 내일은 유러너, 주말엔 유목수? 그걸 다? 본캐부터 부캐까지 하고 싶은 게 많은 요즘 시대의 커피 칸타타 콘트라베이스.
울트라 기어로 선명하게 이긴다. LG 울트라 기어 게이밍 모니터.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going into Game 3, but before we get this game started, guys, thank you, everybody, for supporting us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/ASL English. Those of you who are supporting us on Patreon will now get access to the Tastosis Secret Podcast.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of fun with it, actually.
It's been going well, man.
Yeah, and hope that you guys enjoy. It's just me and Tasteless talking without the annoyance of a StarCraft game going on that we have to mention. So it's basically like the early game of a round of 32 GSL match.
Yeah, guys, if you want to get access to that, if you want to support us in our endeavors to support StarCraft, you know where to go. And look, man, I got to say, this has been one of the most exciting best of fives in the round of 8 already, and that's saying a lot, man. I mean, Game 1 and Game 2 really highlighted the strengths on both sides, and Soma was able to show that he really does understand how to set up in a late game. If Rush's pushing ability had not been so unworldly, I think that Soma would have closed that out with a second victory.
Oh, yes. I thought he would, but Rush's macro was just insane. The speed of his reinforcements was like instantaneous. It was like he was warping his Protoss in StarCraft 2. Very impressed, Tasteless. Like, this guy, we were just talking over the break. I'm like, he might win ASL this season. He's looking that good. Obviously, there's a lot of strong competitors here, but like that TVZ was top tier. So we'll see how the rest of the match goes, though, because, I mean, Soma looked good as well. I think he had a great strategy there. He just barely didn't hold, and, you know, that's how it goes sometimes when you have two players so evenly matched.
Rush really hit all his marks, and that was post the double dropship backfiring and being killed off, which usually is the death sentence for Terran. You're pretty much zoned out of controlling the end game, but apparently not if you're Rush. All right, guys, we're going to go now into Game 3 on Polypoid. I think a map we're all very familiar with here in StarCraft. Let's see what happens with these two guys when they have to duke it out for everything.
So we have Soma in the top right. Bottom left, we have Rush. And once again, some cross-spawn action, similar to Game 1. So, yeah, I really don't know what to think about the rest of this series. I think that was such solid play out of Rush, but it could have gone either way. Looks like so far in ASL, Polypoid's been pretty even overall. I think it's a good map for the matchup. Definitely see a lot of interesting games here.
Yeah, I think Polypoid's made for some great games. I will say that when this map first came out, it was a bit overwhelming. I think there's a lot of subtle geographic things to try to get the hang of. At least for me, I don't know.
I think specifically I guess the third base, the way that the third base here functions in the various matchups, I think especially TVP, I found a little bit daunting at first. Like, how to take it and when to take it, like if units are sitting up there, things like that.
Yeah, it's hard to know how to interact with it. And besides the naturals, all the expansions in the game are on basically very securable areas. So in a TVZ, it's especially important to watch, you know, from the Zerg's perspective and see if he can keep these bases, because if he can, it's going to be extremely hard for Terran to try to come back and reclaim it. It's very different from Revolver, our last map. The natural base, hard to push into. You know, a main base is always hard because there's usually a small ramp, but the other spots are very easy for Rush to wipe. I think if Soma can play somewhat of a similar game positionally and keep up with bases, I don't know that Rush would have been able to recover as quickly and keep the Zerg under control. And that's one thing about Polypoid always, is once you get a base defended, so hard to stop it.
Yeah, definitely hard to break. Now, this is kind of an interesting opening from Soma. He actually went over pool gas, which is not something that you see very often. In fact, this is a one hatch layer. Okay.
So this is, I think we're going to see a den thrown down, but I could be wrong.
No, it has to be a den. You're definitely, like, you can't go one hatch muta. That wouldn't
make sense.
How would that make sense? That wouldn't make sense.
So this is actually an extremely old build. That's kind of like if you're a random player and you might pull this build out and be like, well, I know this old trick. Usually you pair it with Ling's speed so that the Terran doesn't ever scout you, and your lurkers just show up there so quickly that that you're just not ready. Now, the thing is, this is also very, very stoppable. Like, you guys, many of you are going to try this online and be shocked when you just die doing it.
One thing we got to point out is that Rush didn't do a normal scout. Like, this is an extremely late scout that he has.
Yeah.
He did, like, normally you scout on 12, and then you send a second one on 14. He didn't scout till after his command center, so he's doing actually a very greedy build. He has no clue what Soma is doing here.
Now, these are Lings without speed. I'm a little bit surprised, considering the what's at stake here, that he would even hemorrhage any Lings. So, well, I think you get exactly 3 Hydras with this. Maybe less. We also don't know if he goes with... I don't think he goes for drop, but maybe. I just want to put the ideas out here. This is clearly intended to end the game immediately. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, and now look at this. This is an anti-Zergling bunker, and Zergling bunkers and Lurker bunkers are very, very different. So Lurkers are going to be able to get an angle where they hit the command center, but not the bunker doesn't hit them. Also, one thing to mention is, obviously, we are a ways off. Like, Rush is going to lose his natural, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. He is going to have to retreat to high ground because Lurkers outrange a regular Marine and bunker. You need the range upgrade on Marines for them to hit the Lurkers. So he's going to be able to get pot shots on everything. And Rush, like, obviously we don't really see detection. Comsats are not ready. I have no idea if he started his eBay as of yet. And that's going to make it hard on him.
I can't believe we're having this build here.
Yeah,
I can't either. This is so wild. You know, this is like a really, really, really old build that a lot of... I mean, this is like... Honestly, like, first year or two of Brood War, people were doing this.
Oh, yes.
And it was kind of just this funny thing that once you stop it, you're fine. But if you're not ready for it... There's even some weird tricks like this for Protoss where people are just not ready. And the question now is going to be, is Rush ready?
He's not ready right now. Like I said, he has to, like, you have to try to make the Lurkers burrow as many times as possible, and he's going to have to get a bunker on his high ground immediately. Right now, this looks like Soma's just going to win for free. Yep, that's it. GG. You are not coming back from that. Oh my God. Yeah, he catches, like, all the Marines here. And, again, no range upgrade, right? So it's going to take a while for him to get into that. He probably has Stim on the way right now. And then... Okay, well, he scans. I'm really incredibly surprised that he scanned there.
Yeah, because now
it was very obvious.
And
well,
hold on.
Yeah, I'm surprised in a lot of ways what's going on, but yeah, I guess he runs out of energy here.
And also, he's burrowed on top of where the other scanner can make.
Oh my God, he's trying to push up the ramp now. This is the weirdest execution on both sides.
So the big catch is if the Lurker can get up there, get to where the barracks are, basically, you probably win. Or get to where the mineral line is. Any of these spots are quite good.
Yeah, look at this. Pulls out this Lurker. Going to go up the ramp now with his Lings and Lurkers. Hasn't built a bunker yet. So kind of playing very risky here. Rush is. The Marines going to gun down these Zerglings for the most part. Lurker's just getting these shots off absolutely everywhere. A medic coming around is trying to heal up a bit.
Gets one. Oof. Rush might be able to hang on. And again, guys, if the Terran is not killed outright, the Terran will be able to crawl back from this. Okay, really good control here. No one burrow on the Lurker, so this is going to be picked off. And I think Rush is going to be okay.
Yeah, I guess he ends up holding. When he lost all those Marines, that looked very, very dire. And GG is called. All right.
Okay.
Good hold. And you see him shaking his head. He was on the very brink of defeat that entire time. I feel like it was a strange decision from Soma in some ways, the way that he was engaging the bunker. Because, like, you can outrange it. I mean, he ran up and burrowed at it when he knew there was only one scan, so that made sense in some ways. But I think what you said was pretty accurate, that if he got on top of the barracks there, you can't really get units anymore, right? You have 2 Lurkers burrowed, like, right next to the barracks. You're killing Marines as they pop out.
Yeah, and also, really having all 3 Lurkers stay alive is so important. What you want is maybe one burrowed over where the Marines are coming out of the barracks, and then maybe one where they're mining. And you sometimes want to be ready for when the scan comes, you pop out and run, because the lurkers are shockingly fast compared to Marines. Try to run somewhere and maybe burrow again and basically burn through their scans. So it's a moment that requires the Terran to play basically a perfect game. But that's what Rush did. And that's why there is no mid-game or end-game for the Zerg there. It's an all-in.
Yeah, it's pretty rare to see the transitions out of one hatch lurker, that's for sure. A very different one, a very weird game, but it shows Rush's level that he's able to hold on when he didn't even scout what was happening. He lost all those Marines and still somehow, some way, ends up taking it down. So great job to Rush. He leads 2-1. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, it's going to be game number 4.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지.
오늘이 뭐야?
새로운 날을 만든다.
나의 레벨은 다르다. 어너더 레벨 핫6. 함께 모이면 홈파티. 홈파티엔 먹방. 먹방엔 칠성사이다. 맛있어. 맛있는 자리에 빠질 수 없는 청량함. 칠성사이다.
어려워도 이렇게 멈추면 내가 아니지. 오늘이 모여 새로운 날을 만든다. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어너더 레벨 핫6.
퇴근하고 뭐해? 퇴근하고? 오늘은 유셰프, 내일은 유런업, 주말엔 유목수. 그걸 다? 본캐부터 부캐까지 하고 싶은 게 많은 요즘 시대의 커피. 칸타타 콘트라베이스.
숙취 요즘 누가 저렇게 깨니? 맨날 똑같은 거, 맛없는 거 깨. 이제 탄산으로 깨. 숙취 해소의 새로운 기준. 가스강. 환도 역시 가스강이 대세.
디자인을 하면서 가장 중요하게 생각했던 부분은 울트라 기어의 차별화된 브랜드 메시지를 잘 나타내는 것입니다. 신과 영웅들의 최강의 무기들을 검토하였습니다. 그중 니케의 승리의 날개를 모티브로 지금의 울트라 기어의 로고가 탄생하게 되었습니다. 울트라 기어의 이니셜인 U와 G를 비상하는 날개의 형상으로 레드 색상을 사용하여 강력한 에너지와 힘을 나타내었습니다. 울트라 기어는 최상의 퍼포먼스로 진정한 게임의 즐거움, 승리의 기쁨을 여러분께 선사할 것입니다.
울트라 기어로 부드럽게 이긴다. LG 울트라 기어.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for waiting. Get ready for Game 4, and get ready for who knows what's going to happen, because each of these games has been insane. We've had an 8 racks. We had a completely bananas macro game where Rush barely managed to overcome the crazy Zerg setup that looked to be impossible to stop. And then we actually had one hatch lurker, and to be honest with you, Tastosis, I never thought we would see one hatch lurker ever again. I think we've casted it maybe before StarCraft 2 came out. We did a game or two with that.
Yeah, it's not that common, honestly. And I don't think that Soma did the greatest job with it. The initial setup, I think, was quite strong, and then maybe lacking a little bit of execution there, but Rush's hold was really magnificent as well. He stayed so calm, and that's one of the main things in the face of a crazy all-in like that. You have to stay calm and just deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny to see. I'm not surprised to see him do something aggro, but funny to see him do that build. I mean, what a blast from the past. Lemon, is it going to be long? Is it going to be short? I don't know. Let's not forget these mains are very tiny. And this map has a lot of other different features we're going to unpack for you guys as we go into Game 4. Right now, Rush with a 2-1 lead over Soma.
So we have Soma in that bottom left, and once again, cross spawns Rush in the top right.
Now, obviously, Zerg suffers the least from really tight main bases, but how does Terran want to look at this going into a TVZ? Because Terran buildings actually take up the most room due to add-ons, and so is that a problem, or are you just not worried anyways because you're going to fast expand, and so it doesn't really mean anything?
I think that's what you just said there, basically, right? Like, you're just going to go for a quick expo, like whether it's a 1-1-1 or a factory or, you know, just barracks. Whatever it is, you should be fine because you're going to own the area, basically. So I don't think it's going to affect it that much for this matchup. It looks like he wants to go for a wall-in, which is, you know, obviously on any map you can wall-in. Pro-Terrans love to wall. But yeah, we'll see if Soma's going to do anything to try to punish that. It doesn't look like it, though.
Now, Soma, it's got to have been a kind of crazy emotional journey for him so far from here, right? I mean, he barely won Game 1 when that Hydralisk suicided towards the tank, drawing the mine in to basically get the killing blow, but that could have backfired. He seemed to be in an unstoppable position in Game 2, and really it's a testament to what an incredible player Rush is overall, that he was able to basically get to where he needed to be and actually overcome Soma. And then in the third game, Soma, I think, correctly set up all the pieces in place to execute the all-in, but kind of fumbled when it came to the actual engaging part. So kind of a weird series of games all around here. I mean, Rush probably feeling extremely confident after Game 2 and 3. I really want to see what what Soma's going to try this time around.
Yeah, is he going to try to like pull a fast one again? Because, well, I guess Game 1 he was just kind of reacting and went for the kill, so I really appreciate that. But yeah, Game 2 he was trying to just kind of get this crazy Zerg, you know, off the ground, and then obviously that crazy all in. By the way, I do want to mention, it was Freakling let me know that, you know, those trees in the middle.
Yeah,
Tastosis, that they don't just block sight, they actually provide cover, but in a different way than high ground. Even air units miss like 47% of their shots there.
Oh, so it's like normal trees
against
in StarCraft 1.
Yeah. So those like, for instance, if you're walking Marines through there, you don't want to attack that with mutas because you're going to miss half your shots.
Oh no, that makes sense. That's funny because like I knew that was a rule where if you anything attacks into something that's under a tree, it's likely to miss. But I think for some reason I took some kind of stupid real life interpretation where I'm like, yeah, but there's no branches. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that doesn't count then. I mean, those are tree stumps. But yeah, no, of course, those doodads should absolutely offer that modifier.
Yeah, so it makes the map actually even crazier. I guess you can really roam there with your Marine Medic. Like that would be, you'd be almost invincible against like Mutaling. That wouldn't have any chance against Marines in the middle.
That's so funny, yeah, because I just hadn't thought that at all. But no, it makes perfect sense. Good correction there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
This is
Shout out to Freakling for letting me know, man.
No, it's always welcome. And so, yeah, it's going to be 3-hatch Muta here. It doesn't appear that anybody wants to try to stick it to the other guy early on.
Yeah, and it seems like Rush is rushing up very, very quickly up this tech tree. Now, he has the starport on the way. I think he's going to be going Valkyrie. But there is a chance, because we saw that out on... Yeah, there's the armory. So it looks like it's going to be a Valkyrie rush. But we'll see what he does with the factory. Since he's getting the add-on quickly, we might see something like Vulture Speed, possibly Vulture Mines. Obviously, things like Vulture Drops can be very strong if it's slower mutas against like regular 2-hatch timings. That's going to be a little bit difficult to pull off, but a nice tech build here from Rush, and I'm not too surprised to see it. This is definitely a good map for a build like this.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense here. And it'll be fun if this becomes a long game as well, because I think, you know, the structural features of this map and the way it can make pushing from, you know, pushing from the middle actually pretty good from the ground because of the stuff we were talking about earlier on. This could be a fun one to go to late game in. I think so many things on this map are so weird, and we've had so many early rush games that, you know, it's hard to think about this map in a macro sense, but I think there's a lot to it.
Yeah, it definitely would give us a very different type of late game. There's no doubt about that. Now, looks like the first Valkyrie on the way. He is getting an upgrade. It probably is Vulture Speed, but again, could be Mines. Yeah, with 3, if he's waiting for 3, it's Speed, because that's going to one-shot a drone. So, going across the map now. Ooh, if he can get the... Yeah, it seems like the mutas are going to be out, and he's going to have to make the wall, because this is the most dangerous thing in the world, is 3 Speed Vultures getting in a Zerg base without proper defense.
Yeah, and they're there, but I think that he's going to kind of hang back with the mutas and almost try to draw them in. Like, oh no, come on in. But Rush doesn't buy the bait.
No, he's more like, oh no, don't come in.
No, don't come in. Oh.
Oh, it's wide open. Oh, it's only one sunken. You could
run
by
my drones, please. A macro game will never happen if you come in. But I think good setup and good read from Rush. He turns away. I think he still has 2 Vultures, but one is in the red. The other one I think is at full HP, but 2 is not enough. Yeah. And so he's going to come up here now towards the top right.
And now here come the mutas in, and 2 Valkyries are already ready, so these mutas aren't going to be able to do really much of anything. Like, he kills, what, 3 SCVs on his way through. A 3rd Valkyrie is already being made. He flies over and sees that +1 being researched. Of course, you're always going to go bio with Valkyries. But yeah, he sees what's up, and now we get to see how Soma wants to play from here. I've seen, I don't think going into Hydra is all that good here. I've seen players against this type of build just go into Crazy Zerg afterwards, because it's going to be a little bit harder for Terran to macro up as many Marines as quickly.
And you can see that Vulture getting chased away. Looks like some more Stunks are going to come down here for now.
Tank being added in here for Rush as he gets his 3 barracks really starting to produce. Vulture getting some great scouting going on. Look at that. Sees that drone trying to make, well, it was trying to make a hatchery. Dives in, and I'm not sure if he actually saw those Hydras. Like, Soma started to pull back.
This move that's coming here from Soma is actually extremely similar to what you see in PvZ, where they try to wipe the Valkyries out, kind of like the Corsairs, the Ogre Zerg gamer joke we've been talking about. But it's a little bit tricky if you overextend, because unlike when you kill the Corsairs in that matchup, at least in this case, Terran still has stuff that can hit the air. So Zerg wants to be very conservative, and I think a lot of ways try to control the map a little bit more and less try to dive onto the Terran. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you can dive in, but it's not likely the Valkyries are all going to die. Like, maybe you get one, but yeah, see, it's not that hard to pull them back. You see the amount of damage they put out so quickly there. So that definitely did not work out for Soma. More barracks being added. Lurkers are out now, so it might come down to things like maybe he wants to snipe the vessel or something like that, right? Like, so that it's a little bit harder to detect these lurkers. But yeah, I mean, the game, everything's looking like kind of standard, honestly, but from a different time. This is a pretty normal modern 1-1-1 against, I guess, a pretty normal counter to that. Oh my God, what is he doing?
Whoa, 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 whoa. That was that must have been a misclick. He must have thought he had the mutas on that for a second.
Oh, you know, he may have looked at that and thought, oh, there might not be siege mode or something, or no siege tank, or maybe it's too close to the wall, and then you just run up and burrow and you kill the siege tank, right? But that was well placed by Rush, so that would be tough.
So really the Zerg has to stay back and wait for the Terran to try to come out. Now, this is actually pretty hard with this set of units to try to come out cleanly and not overstep. And it looks like Zerg's going to try to come in here. And I think Terran is just far back enough, yeah, that Zerg's going to have to try to go ahead and burn through the Lings and regroup and try to set up another position.
Yeah, you got a really healthy volley off onto those Mutalisks as well. So those are very, very highly damaged. The army of Rush is without a doubt much, much better than the army of Soma right now. Soma is getting up into his Hive Tech, and we'll see what he's going to do with that Hive Tech. Like, okay, Defiler Mound coming up. That does make sense, right? We don't have that many vessels with an opening like this. It's going to be a little bit slower because you're making Valkyries for a bit. But everything feels too slow for Soma. I think that Rush has nailed this.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a tough one. I mean, the issue is that the third base and the second base are not really far away from each other. So if Terran can get set up here, he's generating a threat where he could take both of these out. The Hydralisk Den is also part of the wall-in. You know, a lot of times Zergs try to take advantage of the fact that the map is very spread out. And that, you know, at least the Terran can't get to the, you know, all your important locations at once. But in this game, I mean, this is tough. This Lurker's actually stuck on the outside. It was blocked by the Hydras, so that's going to be picked off. The Lurkers will then come in here from behind.
Oh, and he might have enough to break through this. Oh, the Marines coming down. Another rally as well, but that is a lot of Lurkers to try to chunk through. Kills all of the siege tanks. A few Marines and medics left over. He will be able to pick off these Lurkers on the side. Another tank rallying down. That macro of Rush just relentless.
Yeah, that was a pretty insane move there, and I got to really give props to Soma. I think that was going to go much worse. I think he has a fighting chance, but Rush's position, all the circumstances we mentioned earlier, they basically remain the same here. I mean, he's very close. He can start to shell these positions here, but is this one an overextension?
He's trying to buy some time, and look, he picks off a lot of the Marines. There's not that much left over here for Rush, and Soma just really needs to have Consume at this point. That is going to be what's going to end up saving him, because the siege tanks won't be able to break through at that point. So we're going to see if he's able to live long enough to actually get it.
Okay, he's now breaking in here. I think we might end up with a 3-1, man. I don't know that he could survive this. I mean, you never give up when there's Dark Swarm on the map. But, I mean, this is just...
well, if he can keep this hatchery alive, then we're talking.
Yeah, but
I don't know that he's going to be able to. Maybe. Let's see. Oh, it's close. The Lings are coming up. Another group of Marines running up the ramp right now.
And these Valkyries are just killing off the Overlords. I mean, again, Soma's not dead, but like he's very close to his life ending in this game. I mean, a lot is going on. He is going to have to give up the best fight of his entire life, and I don't know if it's going to be enough. Now, Terran has hemorrhaged a couple bits of his army here or there, so he's occasionally taking these fairly scrappy fights, which is usually where Terran loses once Darkstorm gets involved, is Darkstorm gives Zerg that tipping point in the fight. The Valkyries picked off.
Yeah, Rush still pressuring heavily, but we have Consume now, and probably Plague is on the way. So Soma he's almost completely held at this point. Right, like it's not looking great for him. He's really low in supply. This is very tough everywhere. Oh God, he needs to get, oh no, he doesn't have another Defiler up here. Okay, another one is coming up, but I don't know if that's gonna be enough. A Darkstorm goes down, there is a Fire Bat in here.
Whoa, it stayed alive, I can't believe this. I thought the vessel was gonna go down, and then the Fire Bat is somehow finally gonna be picked off. Dude, this is insane, man. Now, again, it's 2-base versus 2-base here. But Terran could stay on 2 bases for much longer, but that third hatchery has been picked off. This means less Lurkers in the mix. I think that we could just barely see Rush close this out, and really the burden is very much so on to Soma to try to figure out how to stay alive.
Yeah, like he might live for a while longer now because he does have the Defilers and everything, but losing that third base was that was the crucial moment. I think Soma he's very close to just straight up dead at this point. Like, he has so little Tastosis. He's like 60 supply. It's just not enough.
Man, Rush has played out of his mind here. And keep in mind
really
that terrifying Rush macro that we saw that took out, I think it was something like 4 bases when it seemed like someone was coming back. It's the same 2-base Rush here, just trying to close out and smother the Zerg as he's struggling to just get his 3rd base back up.
Yeah, and you see Soma is pulling out a lot of tricks here. He's using all the different Defiler spells, plaguing this. He's going to be able to clear this out, but he does get a cancel on that hatchery once again. It's just 2 bases here for Soma, which is very hard to play as Zerg.
Yeah, and
like you really do need more than 2 gas. 2 gas just it doesn't do anything for you at this point in the game.
It's always been the thing about Zerg is, they look so strong when they have, most of the map, but it's hard to emphasize how weak they are when they're very, very low on what they have. And they're against a Terran or a Protoss that just has healthy production. You know, keep in mind, Rush gets to have his cake and eat it by both continuing the pressure on here and expanding in a way that Zerg really can't do anything to retaliate against.
Yeah, not only can he not attack Rush is just controlling every way. He's got great macro still going on, rallying down. He's even got some spider mines out here. I mean, Soma's doing a lot with very, very little. He just killed 2 vessels. He's killing these groups of Marines that are walking up. But look at his supply, 53? Like, at any moment, he's going to just lose,
Yeah, this is, the plagues are really what are keeping some of the Terran's units down, but I think when he comes in here, especially with these lurkers probably not even going to get a shot off. Yeah, they don't. If this Nidus goes down, it's going to be another smashed additional base. Vultures coming in to lay some more mines. We have something counterattacking. Oh my god, even the Eraser. Dude, I think this is 3-1. I think Rush moves on.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah,
not just moves on Tastosis, but he might win this ASL for sure.
This was a Ninja Gaiden endgame scenario where we had to refight every Zerg boss at once, each different form, and beat him perfectly, and he did. Rush now moves on into the Final 4. I think deservedly so. I think Soma is an incredibly strong player, but you can see Rush just sort of stopped anything he tried to do, and I think when Soma finally in Game 4 decided to dish out a very, how do I say this? Not Goldilocks Zerg, right? Not too aggressive, not too passive, just in the middle. Rush played perfectly against that as well.
Yeah, it's just amazingly done. You can see how happy Rush is with himself. He's had high aspirations in ASL for a long time. He used to, back in like ASL Season 4, Season 5, he was making ladder IDs like ASL 5 Champ Rush, right? Because he wanted to do that, but he was having a hard time even getting in. He was like dying around at 24. Here he is, his first round of 4, and I think he might be one of the favorites of this. Well, I mean, he's in the top 4, so he's definitely one of the favorites, but he really might win at Tastosis. This is some of the best Terran play that I have ever seen.
Yeah, and it's different. And it really seems to deal directly with whatever the Zerg has, right? It doesn't play around it. It gets in its face and it stops it, and it kills it dead in its tracks. We're going to go to an interview now with Rush. We're going to see how he's feeling as he has had he is now going on to the round of 4, leaving only 1 spot remaining, which we're going to be getting to in just 2 days to see who will advance.
All right, let's go to that interview now with Rush and see how he's feeling.
ASL 시즌 12 세 번째 4강 진출자가 탄생했습니다. 생애 첫 4강인데요. 유영진 선수 만나보겠습니다. 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
경기 전에 살짝 긴장한 듯한 느낌을 제가 받았어서 걱정을 좀 했는데 웬일일까요? 생애 첫 4강 진출을 이렇게 완벽하게 이뤄내셨습니다. 지금 기분이 어떠신가요?
일단 좀 제가 준비해온 거를 좀 적당히 완벽하게 소화한 것 같아서 기분이 좋고 좀 아직 얼떨떨하네요.
첫 번째 세트를 제외하고는 유영진 선수의 움직임이 정말 전보다 훨씬 더 발전했다라는 평들이 굉장히 많았습니다. 이전에는 이 변수가 생겼을 때 유영진 선수가 조금은 당황하는 듯한 모습도 보였었는데 이번에는 확실히 유영진이 좀 주도하는 경기다라는 이야기들이 있었는데 예전에 비해서 유영진 선수가 조금 더 발전한 부분 어떤 부분이라고 스스로 생각하실까요?
일단 좀 전보다 더 노력을 많이 했고 그리고 또 빌드 같은 것도 좀 무난한 것만 원래 해왔었는데 오늘은 좀 무난하게 하면서도 조금씩 포인트를 줬거든요. 그게 좀 너무 잘 먹혀서 좀 심리전을 잘 먹혀서 쉽게 이긴 것 같아요.
박상현 선수가 이런저런 굉장히 변수들을 많이 뒀습니다. 하지만 유영진 선수가 그때마다 박상현 선수의 움직임을 약간은 꿰뚫고 있는 듯한 느낌을 경기 안에서 받을 수 있었는데요.
네.
특히 두 번째 세트 박상현 선수가 굉장히 빠르게 4회 처리를 갔습니다.
네.
타스타팅 포인트 멀티까지 가면서 좀 빠르게 4회 처리를 갔는데 그 빈틈을 유영진 선수가 찾아내고 한시를 결국 뚫어내는 무한 러쉬의 모습을 좀 봤거든요.
네.
약점을 어떻게 좀 찾아내셨을까요?
원래 그 빌드가 좀 단점이 없어요. 그 맵에서 좀 센 빌드인데 그 박상현 선수가 그걸 할 거라고는 생각을 아예 못했어서 사실 좀 머릿속이 너무 아팠었는데 가디언을 보고 이 정도면은 이제 제가 2일업이 좀 더 빠른 걸 알아가지고
네.
그 타이밍에 딱 뚫는 거 빼고는 없다 딱 생각해가지고 갔는데 잘 뚫은 것 같아요.
저그가 방삼업이 되기 전에
네.
큰 피해를 주면서 결국에 유영진 선수가 뚫어내는 그림이 만들어졌는데
네.
이 세 번째 세트 역시 조금은 당황하지 않았을까 하는 박상현 선수의 빌드가 있었거든요. 원해처리 레어였어요.
네, 그것도 원래 준비한 빌드가 아닐 거예요 아마. 근데 제가 노서치 플레이 하는 거를 보고 좀 한번 이제 또 하겠구나 싶어가지고 한 것 같은데 좀 잘 막은 것 같아요. 빌드가 별로 안 좋더라고요.
네. 이 보고 막기 시작했는데도 굉장히 침착하게 스캔을 쓰는 타이밍부터 당황하는 듯한 느낌은 받지 못했던 것 같아요.
그건 아니에요. 많이 당황하긴 했는데
네.
좀 막다 보니까 이거 투회 처리는 아닌데? 이 느낌이 계속 들어가지고
네.
막 본진에서만 막아도 이기겠구나 해가지고 좀 마지막까지 침착하게 했던 것 같아요.
마지막 세트도 이 바이오닉 병력의 발키리를 섞어주는 조합이
네.
결국에 유영진 선수를 4강 자리에 올려놨다라는 좀 생각이 드는데요. 이 빌드는 좀 어떻게 준비하셨나요?
이 빌드는 사실 원래 어제 갑작스럽게 준비를 했어요. 원래 제가 레문을 픽했는데 하다 보니까 못 이기겠더라고요 맵이. 그래서 좀 이것저것 뭐 할까 하다가 예전에 호선이 형이 24강 때 좀 준비했던 빌드가 이거거든요. 이거를 좀 그래가지고 호선이 형한테 직접 연락을 해가지고 이 빌드의 개념이랑 뭐 최적화나 이런 걸 좀 알려달라고 해서 그거를 그대로 좀 하니까 한 방이 있더라고요. 그래서 이 한 방으로 끝낸다는 마인드로 했는데 좀 잘 먹힌 것 같아요.
경기 전날까지 빌드에 대한 끊임없는 고민을 좀 해오셨던 것 같습니다. 그래서 오늘 경기를 지켜본 유영진 선수의 팬분들은 유영진 우승 가나라는 좀 생각이 드신 것 같거든요.
네.
유영진 선수의 목표는 또 어떨까요?
목표는 일단 지금 최고 커리어를 뚫었기 때문에 저의 우승을 하고 싶긴 해요. 정말 노력 많이 할 거고 이번 시즌에 우승이 목표입니다.
네, 또 하고 싶은 말씀 있는 분들께도 한마디 남겨주실까요?
좀 많은데 일단 연습을 도와주신 분들이 제가 좀 많이 도와달라고 했어요. 좀 강한 상대랑만 했는데 김민철 선수랑 윤명훈 선수, 조일장 선수, 김성대 선수 이렇게 많이 도와줬고 그리고 신상문 선수도 이번에 제 경기를 옵저버 해주시면서 피드백을 계속 해줬거든요.
네.
그 덕분에 좀 더 잘 올라간 것 같고 그리고 우리 집에서 이제 육아를 하고 있는 야무미 제가 이번에 대회 준비를 좀 많이 하느라 거의 독방 육아를 했었거든요. 그래가지고 좀 미안하고 이제 좀 대회 끝날 때까지만 좀 같이 하고 잘했으면 좋겠고 그리고 우리 딸 하루 사랑해.
정말 큰 힘이 될 것 같습니다. 가족들이. 하나 또 좀 여쭤보고
네.
싶은데 이제 화요일 날 경기를 통해서 유영진 선수의 생애 첫 4강의 상대가
네.
또 정해집니다.
네.
이재호 선수와 조일장 선수의 경기에서 유영진 선수가 태태전을 원할지 아니면 태저전을 다시 한번 하고 싶을지도 좀 궁금한데요.
저는 좀 둘 다 하고 싶긴 한 게 일단 일장 형이랑은 16강부터 좀 연습 파트너였어요. 그래가지고 좀 일장이 형이 파트너니까 같이 올라갔으면 좋겠다는 생각도 있고 재호 형이랑 한번 7판 4선으로 좀 테란의 자리를 좀 겨뤄보고 싶기도 해요.
점점 더 경기를 준비할수록 완성도가 높아지고 있는 유영진 선수이기 때문에 4강 경기도 굉장히 기대가 됩니다. 경기장에서 또 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 진출 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
자, 이렇게 해서 ASL 시즌12의 세 번째 4강 진출자 유영진 선수와 함께했습니다.
And there you have it. Rush takes down Soma 3-1. I think it was closer than this makes it look, and Rush he just was a small step up from Soma. I think Soma could have been in round of 4 if he played somebody else, but Rush really is on the leading edge of Terran, and his macro is there. right? Like his micro is super good, but his macro top tier. That was light level macro, especially on Revolver. I'm so impressed.
I'll tell you what, man. Rush makes a few of the tiniest errors in 2 of those games, and it's actually Soma 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
That's how close it was.
Yes, it's so true. It's so true.
So we're gonna go. We're gonna be back here, I should say, guys, with you, light to hero here. Coming up next, this is another really exciting TVZ that I think is also going to look very different from the Soma Rush games.
Oh, definitely. Both of Soma and Rush are very new, much newer players, more cutting edge on the meta, more aggressive. Whereas Light and Hero are both known for just like really strong macro. So I think that it is going to look very, very, very different. I think we're going to have bigger, longer games out of those two. But it should be equally exciting.
Yeah. And I cannot wait to see who we're going to have with that. I think it could be Light versus Rush here at TVT. Which would be certainly welcome, but even if it's going to be Hero versus Rush, we're really still maintaining that golden ratio, which is nice.
Yeah, it's really nice to see everyone making it into the round of 4, so it's going to be a great finals no matter what we end up with, but our next match, of course, as we mentioned, Light versus Hero. Definitely stay tuned for that. I can't wait. These two are like, this is such a pleasure to see 2 players like this play.
Yeah, and 2 players really that are so on top of this matchup, and I think a lot of people say Light's the favorite, but Hero is very, very sharp, and when he's on, nobody can stop him, so keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best Zergs, and to see him come back into such form after his military service is really awesome as well, because I think that Hero, he doesn't have a championship yet, but that's because of Flash, right? Like, as several players we've pointed out in the past, where it's like, yeah, he's made it to the finals, couldn't get over that hurdle, but he is already back in such good shape with a round of 4 last season. I think Light, though, he's a tough customer, man. He's on top of that race right now.
And, of course, one of the major features of this tournament is the fact that Flash is not here. Flash is in the military right now, which gives these guys a little bit more of a realistic shot of actually stealing the entire show.
That's right. And it's going to be well-earned, whoever ends up taking it. Guys, want to thank you once again for supporting us on the Patreon. That is patreon.com/ASL English. Definitely check it out. We've been uploading multiple podcasts each week. So hope that you guys are enjoying that. And Tastosis, this has been a wonderful round of 8 match.
Guys, we love you. Stay safe. We'll see you in just a few days with the final day of the round of 8 of the ASL Season 12. Take care.